Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Coach Hightower with the Real Men Talk. And today we got a special guest that's on today that's going to be informing you on the benefits of a revocable trust, which goes into things I talk about in regards to estate planning. As I tell you all the time, man, we have to get our affairs in order. And part of what she's going to be talking about is going to be very impactful as well as valuable to not only you, but to your family, to your descendants. And a trust can live on and on. But she's going to give you the tangibles in regards to the benefits of revocable trust. So let me bring up none other than distinguished Toastmaster, business owner of Principal Consultants and MML Solutions, as well as an independent agent and affiliate of Heritage Trust Company. And I think she's a graduate of University of Houston, but I'm gonna let her tell you a little bit more about that. Let me bring up none other than Miss Monique Lampkin. Miss Lampkin, how you doing?
Good afternoon, Coach Hightower. I am doing great on this beautiful spring day.
Good. Thank you for joining us. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself, because I try to give an introduction, man, but you have so many accolades and so many titles that I do not want to shortchange you. So tell the people who Miss Monique Lampkin is.
Thank you for the question. Monique Lampkin is a native Houstonian. Shout out to H-Town listeners.
Yes.
I grew up on every side of the city, but to just clarify, I am a graduate of the University of Houston. And also I have a master's degree from the Houston Graduate School of Theology. Like you, I'm very passionate about our people in general.
Yes.
Preserving their assets, breaking the spirit of poverty. And it's not always about money, but the way we think. So I want to interject that, but I'm a native Southern girl, and I like to use this acronym. I'm a GRITS. I'm a girl raised in the South. And that sums it up who I am.
And so are you originally from Houston?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wow. And to those that's listening, what's your alma mater as far as your high school?
I started out at Worthing High School, so shout out to Sunnyside.
Yes.
However, I finished down in Fort Bend County at John Foster Dulles out in Sugar Land. Yes, when there was nothing out here, when there was nothing but cattle and goats.
It's funny that you said that, because I brought a friend down here. I moved here in 2014, Monique, and I brought a friend that lived in Humble. This is probably in 2015. And she came to visit me, and she's like, wow. I'm like, what are you wowing about? She's like, this place used to be nothing but farmland. Y'all got streets and buildings and stores down there. I'm like, yeah. She's like, wow. She was just in shock and awe. I was like, wow. She's like, everything used to be nothing but farmland down here.
That is correct.
So to hear you say that and then to watch it develop, and I've been here since 2014, and I'm seeing so much development. I'm like, please, can y'all kind of stop developing?
That's right.
Good. So Monique, I don't know if you follow the Real Men Talk, but we all about providing information as well as providing lineage and legacy and about building wealth. And one thing I harp on is for our community and our people to get their affairs in order when it comes to estate planning. And I think sometimes it can be challenging, but can you tell us from your standpoint, is it really challenging to get these things in order?
Thank you again, Coach Hightower. And I'm going to just talk through this afternoon. And I'm not trying to proselytize, but scripture tells us over in Hosea 4:6, I'll just use the Bible as a reference. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So once we know better, we can do better. So that is part of my mandate in this year, is just to help people become knowledgeable. It may seem intimidating, but this is where you and I come in to empower the people and give them the information that they need as it relates to even this talk show, the Real Men Talk. A real man will make sure his house is in order. And I have the highest respect for men. Coach Hightower knows that. He knows by now that I hold men in high regard, but a real man will make sure his house is in order.
Yes. Speaking, sister. So tell me, why is it so important to have a trust, and what is the benefit of having a trust?
Sure. Now that we're going to educate the people, I need to make a legal disclaimer. The following information that I'm going to share with you is really more of educational. I am not a financial planner. I am not a lawyer, CPA, or tax accountant. With that, I want to encourage you after this talk show, if you need to seek out credible legal advice, your person of contact can guide you further. So with that, the benefits, why should I get a trust? And I want to just say this, Coach Hightower, there's a difference between a will and a living trust. And before
Yes.
we go into those benefits, I think the timing of this interview, you were so sensitive to the time that we're in. Where did trust come from? People need to know that. Where did trust come from? Back during the Crusades, when there was war, men of war. We've heard about these men back in antiquity, back in the old days that would go to war. Before they went off to war, they wanted to make sure their house was in order. If anything happened to them on the front line, hint, hint, everything would be in order. So this is nothing new for us living trust. This goes back thousands and thousands of years. So before real men went off to war, they made sure they had a living trust, not a will, in place. And I'll take it a step further because this is about education, as we know. Let's look at King Solomon. King Solomon, I'm pretty sure, and I would suggest all the assets that he had, the gold, the silver, the fine linens. He had inventory. He knew what was going on in his own castle, in his own house. So historically, this is nothing new. Let's look at the Queen over in England. I guarantee you her estate is recorded and documented for us, everything she has. So with that, to answer your initial question, the benefits of a trust are the following. It goes into effect at the time of death and before death. And what I mean by that, say you come down with COVID-19, we're going to have some real talk with real men this afternoon and women, because I know you have some females in your audience.
Let's go. Give it to them. Give it to them.
Let's consider you come down with COVID-19, God forbid, and you're on a ventilator. Time you hit that ventilator, that trust is in effect. It's making decisions. You are dictating from the ventilator what's supposed to be happening with your affairs. That's the first thing. The next thing, and I love this, say you die of anything, whether COVID, a car accident, and we know that things happen. Things happen in reality. A car wreck, you come down with prostate cancer. We just don't know what tomorrow holds. You don't have to go to probate court. Your family does not have to pay out all this money to lawyers, etc. It's already recorded in the living trust what your wishes are. There's no need to put your business out into the airways, because we're going to go into your safe deposit box. We're going to go into your trunk. And that's where I keep my living trust, by the way. And we just follow the words of the living trust. It's effective at incapacity. And again, we have a lot going on with our seniors, Alzheimer's patients, dementia, people that cannot make decisions in their right mind. So by putting this living trust in place now, when those things happen, we just go to the book and it gives us step-by-step directives.
So let me ask you this, sister, because you covered a lot of things in a short period of time, but I want to make sure the people understand. You said something that was very powerful. You said you don't have to worry about your will going through probate. Let's talk a little bit about that, because sometimes we don't even have a will. But the good thing is you spoke about the will. The disadvantage of going to probate, a lot of our people sometimes end up losing their assets or their properties because they can't afford probate. Can you talk a little bit how probate can hurt a lot of things if you don't have this trust in place?
Most definitely. By the time you come out of probate and have paid the lawyers and all the fees and filings, you will possibly walk away with a negative for you and your family,
Right.
whatever's left. So why not be proactive now? And there won't be a need to put this information in the probate court. It's done behind the scenes, again, recorded. Probate can take years, and I'm going to talk real direct. I have a very good associate. He's probably listening to this even now. He's a follower. And his mother died. Unfortunately, there was nothing in place, no will, not even a living trust. So now we're in probate court. Everything that his dear mother worked for years. And by the way, I was appealing to them to please consider getting a living trust through my company, Heritage Trust Company. Now they're in probate court. They can't touch the money. The accounts are on lock, frozen assets, fights with the family, people going into the house, touching stuff that shouldn't be touching stuff. Mama's gone on the glory. And now we have all this chaos because everything was not in order. So I think to answer your question, just painting a real scenario of what happens, then you're tied up, taking time out from work, dealing with the lawyers, dealing with the family, the rumors, the frustration of that. So let's be proactive now, audience, and go ahead and consider a living trust.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's very powerful. And I want to tell you all that's listening to the Real Man Talk. First of all, share this channel right now. Go ahead and share it so people get this information. Monique Lampkin is giving you a lot of free games that sometimes you will have to go to an attorney to get this game that she's giving. Okay. But a will is good. I'm glad that most people are being proactive in getting a will. That's the first step. But the trust supersedes the will. And as Monique stated, man, this has been going on for a long time. So when you look at some of the things that our ancestors did, they had trust in place. That's why they was able to continue to carry the lineage and the legacy and keep that property in the family. Somewhere in the last, I'm going to say 40, 50 years, we pretty much have lost connection with things that's already in place. Even you go back and look at back through the ancestral line, you go back and look at the kings and queens that we came from. They had trust in place. If you look at the people such as the Rockefellers and the Clintons, the Bushes, the other people, their name lives on because the trust lives on.
That's right.
And when you're building legacy, you building lineage, and you attain all these assets, you don't want it to be taken through probate or through the courts. That's a whole nother game and a whole nother system. So right now, Monique is giving you game on how to protect those assets. So Monique, in regards to just getting this set up, what are some of the other benefits? Because I know with a trust, it has benefits when it comes to like the tax, the creditors. Can you give it to them in the nitty gritty of how it's going to protect them in other ways?
Most definitely. As stated, we know about probate court. Next is private. Back to this probate court. It's private information. We don't have to Google in after you die or there's an incident in your family. Your business is safe. So the trust is very private. This is very critical. We may have people who are divorced and they have children from a previous marriage or relationship. And I'll even just keep it even more real. There may be some brothers out there, real men, who may have several children from different women or other women. What that does, we get to put a guardian in place for your children, far as minors, etc. And I've seen this, Coach Hightower. I've been to funerals. And the family didn't know that dad had some other children outside of the marriage, or that that was another situation going on down the street. All these children pop up at the funeral saying this is their dad. And because daddy did, and I'm not knocking men today, I'm just having this real talk. Because there was nothing in place, the other kids down the street walked away traumatized. There was nothing left, no scholarship money for college, no money for anything to proceed. And what ends up happening is those group of kids end up in student loan debt. Another thing, and I think this is also very powerful, in fact, I know it is, you are in control. With the living trust, you are dictating your wishes, whether you're laid up in the hospital or when you've gone onto the grave or you've been cremated and your ashes are thrown out at sea. And I like to talk about me. I'm a single lady. I have a living trust. I dare not come on this show and suggest you all consider one and not have one. I do have an adult son. If anything happens to me, that trust is already in effect. My brother, and I'm putting business out there, is my power of attorney. So there's some other things that come with these trusts. Who's your power of attorney? Say you're on that ventilator, say you can't make intelligent decisions, this trust will automatically guide your power of attorney. One of the other things I like, and you can even suggest this with the will, but with the trust, it's more powerful. In the event I get sick, come down with something tragic, breast cancer, prostate cancer for our men or something, my family knows my medical directives. It's stated in the living trust. It is specifically stated to keep me comfortable, I don't want to be on dialysis. So that avoids fights at the hospital. We've seen those situations. Well, let's keep mother on the ventilator for 5 more years. No, mama said don't put her on the ventilator. By going to this living trust, we have that document. And last but not least, at the funeral, we fight over those simple things like mother wanted to be buried in a white dress. Big Daddy wanted to have on a black suit. Well, she told me to put it in the pink suit. The living trust allows you to plan your funeral. And yes, you can do that with a will. Also, it defines clearly, do you want to donate your organs to science? Do you want your eyes donated? So it's just so many other things. And I'll answer this question further. There's a clause called the pour over will. Say you have a will right now. Say you have a will, pour over. And while we're setting up this trust, if something should happen in between, or if we find out that you forgot to include some assets in the living will, in the trust, inside that trust, it's going to come back and that living trust is going to cover that. Another advantage of a revocable trust, you can change it as many times as you like. And that's what I love about my company, Heritage Trust Company. Say in 2 years you want to make some changes, you get remarried, a spouse dies, you get married, things change. You fall out with a family member and you're not leaving them anything. The trust is revocable. If it's irrevocable, you can never make any changes. And what I love about my company, Heritage, all changes are free.
Good job, Ms. Lampkin, in covering that. And man, she said a mouthful. And once again, you all are getting free game that usually it will require an attorney giving you some of this information. As she stated, man, you don't want to be fighting when it's time to bury your loved ones because you're already grieving. True story. I was doing a notary job last year, and it was a lady that came from the Middle East. She was from Houston, but came from the Middle East. And she was trying to get some paperwork signed. And her mother was in ICU. And when I went in there, once again, I always ask the clients, is the person of sound mind that's trying to grant a power of attorney? The daughter said yes. Well, when I get in there, the woman is in ICU and she's hooked up to all these machines and she's under the influence, which is very obvious. But to give her the benefit of doubt, I asked her, does she know what's going on? And the lady said, yes, I know what's going on, but I'm not comfortable with signing this paperwork. Well, the daughter got somewhat irate. And I told her I'd wait for her outside. Make a long story short, the daughter pretty much was just trying to get a signature because she wanted whatever her mother would promise to give her. And I guess she didn't want the brother to get it. But it came to the point where, she's been gone out the country for so long, the stuff wasn't in order. And she couldn't get it notarized, at least she couldn't get it notarized through me because, once again, I wouldn't go do that. That it became a major issue. But once again, the mother has been sick for a while and was leading up to that. I say that to say this. You want these affairs in order, man. A lot of times we think we don't have assets. We don't think we got enough things. But you'd be very surprised. That used car that you have, that house that you have, the clothes that you may have in your house. The government can use that as probate and take that stuff if none is designated in regards to where it's supposed to go. So in regards to Ms. Lampkin just stated about the will, beneficiaries can contest the will. So when you have a trust, it's kind of hard to contest a trust because a trust speaks for itself. A will, anybody and their mom can contest it. And as Monique stated, sometimes this can go on for a while. And as it goes on for a while, think about this. These attorneys will get paid.
That's right.
So they're charging you. So as that bill going up, and just say if that house is worth, we just say $80,000, and them attorney fees get up to about 120, as Monique stated, you can be in the negative because the attorneys is going to get their money.
They're going to be paid.
So what the game the sister is giving you is the way you protect yourself is you put everything into a trust. Once again, a will is good. But a will is going to go through probate. And the way I look at probate, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is my analogy, Monique. Going through probate is almost like going through a whole nother set of doors that you got to get approved before we can even allocate what needs to be done with this. But we got to charge you It'll cost you a pretty penny, but we gonna tell you how much it's gonna cost, but we gonna charge you to tell you what we gonna divide up.
That is correct. And can I just say this? With the Living Trust is one stop, a one-stop shop. You're done at one time. You're dictating while you're living and while you're going on. Correct.
Wow. And so when we talk about generational wealth and building wealth, ladies and gentlemen, this is part of it.
This is how they do.
Tell them, having these systems in place is part of building wealth. Now ask yourself this. What would you be right now if you started life off, just say with a house that's already paid off? Or if you started life off, just say with $200,000, $300,000. Just imagine where your life and where your family may be right now. Now, a lot of our ancestors, a lot of our parents, a lot of our grandparents, people in our family have put things in place just so we can be somewhat better off. But ask yourself, what have you put in place to make sure that your family and your loved ones are better off? Ask yourself that. Now, once again, Monique took out time of her day. She didn't have to do this. And I'm very grateful, Monique. Thank you so much, because I'm pretty sure you got other things you can be doing. You got clients that you can be calling, but you came on a Real Men Talk to provide this information. And it's so important because it's not hard to get this established, man. It's not hard. It don't cost a lot of money. But the thing that you're leaving behind, man, you don't realize how much your family will be able to grieve, and just it changes the whole process. Monique, what have been your experience with some of these people that had to utilize the trust, and what have they said that has been the most benefit in regards to just getting this trust?
No complaints. Thank you for saving my family. Thank you for making me and my husband sit down and talk about some things. I had an anonymous client. You all don't know them. However, the wife was under the impression that she was going to get the entire estate. She just assumed that. They've been together for years. And he told her no. She thought that she knew her spouse before he died. But what they told me, that they had not communicated enough over the years. They had not been intimate as they thought they were when they were having pillow talk. These were things they should have been talking about on the front end. However, we were able to get the trust in place. The husband did expire, but she called me because he had children from a previous marriage. And she said, if it was not for you, they would have come after me and our children now. And we were able to fix it. Well, she makes the decisions. I don't give any advice. I just guide the clients. Everyone is happy right now. So we've never had any issues or complaints. The trust company is there to assist you. I'm there to guide you through the process. I don't just have you fill out paperwork. However, there's something that's very critical. We can have meetings, you can render the payment for the trust, but until we legally fund the trust, F-U-N-D, fund the trust, that means transfer the assets into the trust, it is not legal. It is not legal. Another thing, we do not do trust in the state of Louisiana. We go everywhere but the state of Louisiana. And the reason is due to the Commonwealth, British laws of old. So this is the reason why Louisiana won't let us do any trust there. So many benefits. No more fights at the family reunions. No more speculation. Things is just peaceful. And it doesn't need to be chaos. As he mentioned, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys, quote unquote, and you know of others, they have been able to protect their assets, even the mafia, because they knew how to put their assets in trust. The Catholic Church, not uncommon. Say when you die, you want to donate funds to a scholarship. Coach Hightower has a male boys mentoring organization. He needs to perhaps dictate in that trust how he wants proceeds from his estate maybe to go in his name, things to think about. It makes you really think strategically how you want to set it up. And I have a sense of humor. I like to make it really plain. The movie with Tyler Perry, Grace Has Fallen. Those that watched the movie, Grace Has Fallen. One mistake Miss Grace made, she was a sharp sister. But notice she didn't marry a real man. He had motives. Had she had a living trust in place as a single woman, There are some people that believe in prenuptials. The living trust can serve as a prenuptial agreement. What you have before we got married is yours, and what I had before the marriage is mine. Some people like that approach. However, me personally, when I get married, I prefer to bring my assets as one in with my soon-to-be husband in the future. So many benefits. We become one. It's a covenant. It's a binding business relationship. We're protecting the money. We're protecting the china. Also, we have what we call a land trust. Many African Americans in particular, we own property. Throughout the US, we have land, we have mineral rights, we have oil. We can move all of that into the living trust. We can keep oil companies from stealing from your family, like they can often be guilty and negligent of doing, because we've moved everything into a living trust. So other things, like Leota said, or Coach Hightower said earlier, who's going to get the motorcycle? Who's going to get the boat? Who's going to get the second house out in Sunnyside? And what I've seen happen is the house ends up in probate court and nobody gets it. Someone comes in, pays $20,000, maybe $5,000, and then they regentrify, and we wonder why the neighborhood is the way it is now, because we did not have a living trust in place to protect the assets. If you want the house sold, we need to know that. If you want to put it on Airbnb, we need to know that. In the living trust, who's going to keep the grass cut? Are we going to rent out the house? Who's going to pay the property taxes? The living trust keeps us all out of probate court.
Wow, Monique, thank you so much. And you actually got me thinking in regards to some other things, because as you stated, the trust is not really fully effective until we start putting assets in it. So I definitely got to get with you on that, as well as, if y'all decide to dig deeper and you want to get with Monique, because she's an expert in this, not me, but you also can set up a trust banking account that can help fund those things, as well as your business. Matter of fact, something else I got to do. You got me thinking about a lot of things, because even with these businesses I got to put some of them in trust. And true story, I was reading this book. I can't remember the name of the book, but it was about trust. And the guy pretty much deeded the land to the city council. I don't know if you heard the story, but he made the city councils the beneficiary of the trust. Well, inside of his trust, he pretty much specified that he did not want people of color or black people at this particular part. Now, from the other side, it may seem like it's racist, but it may be racist, but at the same time, this was what his dying wishes, this was his will, it was put in the trust. So because it was in the trust, the city council didn't have no choice but to abide by the trust. And so when you put things in trust, you can specify what's going to happen to it. And pretty much there's only so much that can be done, because that's your living trust. And that's the power of a trust.
Exactly. A very powerful tool. You're going to love this, Coach Hightower. Cryptocurrency can be listed in the schedules of living trust.
Get out of here.
Yes, sir. Your stocks, your bonds, your life insurance, your land survey papers. I know your listeners are asking, how much is this going to cost me? I'm going to put this out here. Probably under $3,000 or less. That's everything. And we're going to need Coach Hightower to notarize some papers, because that trust is not legal.
Thank you. There you go.
Until it is legally notarized. What I like to do, once we get the papers back from corporate, I encourage families to come together at family reunions or Sunday afternoon after church or at the mosque, on whenever you worship. We're going to get together and we're going to sign off on the trust. And many families like to have wine and champagne and show the value. And I'm going to just do this. This is my living trust.
There you go.
This is my trust, so you all can see it has my name. And we don't just send you some papers. We send you a nice put together presentation. So it has a lot of power and weight. It can't be contested. Like the lady at the hospital with the customers you had, grandmother was wise not to sign those papers. And we see those situations with greedy children, greedy family members. They're all around you when it's time to go home. Something very important. If you have minor children, you need a living trust. Something happens to you, who's going to take care of those babies? Do you want your mother-in-law to raise the children, their godmother? These are things that need to be talked about. We have a special provision for special needs children. Some of us have family members or children that are incapacitated. They're mentally retarded. They can't think for themselves. Should something happen to you, do we put them in the state home? Or what are your wishes? What would you like to see happen with those special needs family members? So these are other considerations that we need to look at. This is a real situation. And if we have that living trust to go back to, we're good to work with things. Coach Hightower, and here's another prop. Family members fighting over to China. Fighting over to China. By having the living trust, we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's already defined as stated. I like to look at my trust every year because things change. And the beauty is it's revocable. So as you acquire more assets, and as he said earlier, don't think you don't have assets. You will be surprised what people will come after. Artwork, those guns, all of that.
Wow.
So, all of that. And by having the living trust, we already know who gets the jewelry, who gets the wing, who gets the Rolex watch, who gets the Mercedes. There's no questions asked. So minimal cost to invest in a lifetime. You're actually creating more wealth. You're not losing wealth. You're creating and protecting those assets that will last until eternity. I'm
gonna tell y'all something. Do this. When you do this, when you decide to hire, get some feedback. When you decide to hire Monique, you're getting more than just an agent or affiliate. You're also getting her intellectual property and her expertise. If you heard in the conversation, man, she was giving you a little bit of everything. So just imagine if you go hire her to do your estate plan and all the other information she's going to end up giving you. She told you something about the Commonwealth, man. That's a whole nother conversation when you start learning about the Commonwealth, as well as she mentioned about the ward of the state. She didn't go too much in detail, but it's a whole lot of things that you probably don't know. And what you don't know, you don't know. Most of us are somewhat of a ward of the state. So that's why we have to go through the probate process. But she's showing you how to avoid all of this. And once you hire her, I'm pretty sure she's going to give you a little bit more tidbits into some other things, because there's a lot of things around this trust, man. When I completed my trust last year, I was so happy because if anything happened, everything is already spelled out. I don't have to worry about my family fighting over anything. Everything gets divided up. Only thing I want you to do is just, mourn and just carry it on, but also pay it back. So at the same time, by you doing that, you also setting an example for the family that would possibly cause them to do the same thing. And once we have these things in order, man, we can then keep our assets. We can keep our wealth, because we're losing our assets and wealth to ignorance. As she stated earlier, man, we perish from a lack of knowledge. And this right here just go open up the gates to so many other things once you get the living trust in place, as well as the advanced medical directive and power of attorney. It's so sad. I had to bury my mom in 2019, and my mom voiced some things to us, but it was still some things that was confusing because it was nothing in writing. And when you run into things like that, man, that can be very emotional, because you're trying to make the best decision and respect the person's wishes. But if they don't have anything spelled out, you're pretty much just freestyling. And that's how families get to fighting, because, the sister may got something to say, the brother may have something to say based off the conversations they had, and it may not align with what you probably want to do. So that's why we want to try to just eliminate all the challenges, eliminate all the confusion, and just have everything in order. So when we do transition, the family is still carrying on. Monique, how can the people reach you? Because they need to hire you and get this. How can they reach you?
Thank you, Coach. Let's get this party started. My number is 281-617-8819. You may get my voicemail, but leave a message. But the first thing I'd like to do is send
Hold on. Say that again. What's the number again?
281-617-8819. If you get voicemail, leave a message. I'm going to call you back. But I have a website. The website answers all the questions. heritagelivingtrust.com/Lampkin, or you can Google in Heritage Living Trust and just put Monique Lampkin, it will take you directly to my website, directly to the website. It has a full 3-minute video, nothing long and drawn out. You get to see a picture of me if you haven't already seen me. Also, just some general questions. Frequently asked questions are asked and answered on the site. All the information you need. What happens next? Once you know you're ready to proceed, call me. Or you can email me at info@getmmlsolutions.com, and it's on the website. Send me an email and I let you set up the meeting. Due to COVID, I'm not meeting with a lot of people in person, but I will if needed. We can do something virtually where you set up the meeting and I'm going to come into your space like I did today on the Real Men Talk. And what I like to do is get to know families. Tell me your history if you don't mind. And we have to be able to trust each other, because there may be some things, as Coach Hightower just said, that he even may have forgotten about. He's going to have to go back and look at some things. So this is where I come in and we find money. You'd be surprised how much money you probably forgot you had. And so we want to make sure we find all the assets. We want to find all the money. You'd be surprised. A lot of us got old savings bonds still in the cookie jar. Remember the savings bonds and green stamps?
Yes.
Some of us have some Sheets accounts. We have some people that I've worked with, 401k accounts, still with the oil company. They never went to cash in their money. So we need to go and find the money. It takes about 45 days or less. If everything is in place, we send your information up to California. That's where the corporate office is. And after that, I'm out of the picture. You begin to work with the trust company directly. However, I'm still a part of the process. If they need something, they call me and or the customer, and we get that additional information. But by the time we submit your paperwork, we are ready to go. It's about 4 pages where we're notating the assets. But again, until we fund the trust and move the assets into the trust, you have nothing. If you were to die tomorrow, we in probate court. So it's so critical that we get everything filed. We take the house, the deeds to the house, we move them into living trust. So under public record, you're now listed as a living trust. The property is now in the name of trust, etc. So great way. I challenge you with Mother's Day coming up, Easter coming up, Ramadan, different things are getting ready to come up, Father's Day, family reunions. It's time to sit down and have a real talk. There's even such a thing as a family trust. Like you can say the Hightower Family Trust,
Right.
Or you can say the Leotis Hightower Trust. There are different scenarios. We also have a land trust. Several people own land. We can do a unique trust, not that much more money, where we can add those properties or land with the mineral rights. I push mineral rights, making sure you own the mineral rights to that and include that in the trust. So it is work, but I'm going to be with my clients. Everyone that comes to me, we make sure your paperwork is done. I'm just the liaison, the intermediary, and the website clearly defines it. It's multifaceted. We deal with all races, creeds, and colors, and you'll be glad you did. You'll be able to just have some peace. You won't have to stress. No more family drama. Those days are over. And again, you always have the opportunity to change the schedule. You may change your mind and decide you're not going to leave that irresponsible kid with your property. Some family members have members who are on drugs and alcohol. They should not perhaps be handling your affairs for you.
All right. Monique, thank you so much for blessing the Real Men Talk as well as blessing my audience. And I want to challenge you all, reach out to her. I'm going to put the phone number back out there. The website is there. Reach out to her, even if it's just for a free consultation. Reach out to her and see what she has to offer. And get this trust in order, man. I want us to start keeping our assets. We're losing so many of our assets due to not having things like this in place and due to what I would call ignorance. So let's get that fixed. And let's continue to build this wealth and put our families in positions, man, where we can be better off versus constantly recuperating and surviving. Thank you so much. I can't thank you so much, Monique. You're always a lifesaver. You always bring value. And I just love everything that you do. And thank you so much because you've been a mentor to me as well, man. But thank you because you have so much knowledge and you don't mind sharing it. So thank you so much, sister. I greatly appreciate it.
Coach Hightower, thank you. I appreciate you.
Good. Good. So, ladies and gentlemen, you got it. That's Monique Lampkin. Get that trust in order. Until then, continue to follow the Real Man Talk Show. We'll be going live tomorrow, Wednesday. And go to the YouTube channel if you ain't already liked and subscribed, and get these latest notifications so you can stay informed on the latest things. Till then, hey, I'm out of here. Y'all have an amazing day and continue to be great. And remember, everyone has greatness in them. It's all about how you display that greatness.